Well, it's all about, as I told you, that it's reimagined CX with AI to manage and thrive during the pandemic. Well, we've got with us our panelists. First up, Hesham Saad, Director of Digital Innovations, Abdul, Latif, Jameel. Hesham's a Digital Innovations Director that leads and driving collaborations and alignment across various business units to cultivate and speed the pace of digitalization and AI. Also, we've got Imtiaz Adam, the Director, ML, and Digital Strategy, DLS, a strategy executive and data scientist with experience of digital transformation and artificial intelligence, covering machine learning and deep learning. We've also got Codin, Caragea, who's the head of customer experience bank of Bank Muscat. Well, Codin's main area of expertise covers customer experience framework, design, implementation, enterprise, BPM, lane management, organizational design, innovation, and performance management. We've also got Shafique R. Ibrahim, Chief Digital and Information Officer, Fardan Group, a qualified and tenacious digital professional with 20 years of extensive experience in transformational technology around the financial and retail sector. We've also got VENKATESHA B.S. MURTHY, VP Technology, Mashreq Bank. He's a senior management professional with 24 years of experience in accelerating business transformation through innovations, operational excellence, process re-engineering, and consulting. And this is going to be moderated by George Sebastio, who's a seasoned CTO advisor, senior advisory board member, Trescon. A seasoned CTO advisor and international speaker with experience in blockchain, cybersecurity, AI, IoT, 5G, cloud computing, disaster recovery, and a managed service. George is a professional advisor in several innovative startups using disruptive technologies with a focus on generating business value. So, well, over to all our esteemed panelists who have joined us on this wonderful platform. Thank you once again, and over to my moderator for now, wherein he's going to be taking it forward. Requesting my moderator and my panelists to kindly put on the videos, to put their videos on, and also to kindly unmute yourself so that we can have you live joining us on the show. So requesting our panelists and our moderator to kindly unmute yourself so that we can have you live joining us on this platform. Thank you so much. I can see a couple of you. I can see Shafique already online. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Right. So good morning, or rather good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I think this is a new way of wishing, when you're on a virtual platform. Usually it's more face-to-face than, the time, but now I think we're addressing all the time zones. Well, definitely, COVID has taught us a lot, and I hope everyone around us are safe. And safe also means being more responsible, in the way we act, the way we behave, right? So that's one way. But of course, I have been hearing that COVID, it's not a CIO or a CTO, it's a COVID who has what you call triggered digital transformation.
Absolutely.
Partially true on that, but I believe this is also an opportunity for all the CIOs or visionary CIOs and digital officers to take opportunity and to do things that were there, they want to do, but they couldn't do it earlier. It requires a lot of justification when you talk about an AI and when you talk about RPAs, but now it's a platform, I would say. So COVID has given a platform to all of us to automate, to show the value, to show how agile the IT is, to show the value that can be created in business by automating an RPA. So this is where we are. I think today's morning sessions were pretty good. I think we have touched upon various aspects about automation. We have touched upon AI. I believe on our panel today, we have experts from various domains. So we'll be touching upon, I believe, from finance, from retail, from hospitality. So we'll be touching upon the various areas, focusing around AI and on RPA for sure. But again, I would say this is an opportunity for all. Of course, there are side effects to this impact of COVID for sure. But then COVID also has given opportunity not only in technology, but also in relooking into the way we really operate. apart from technology, like the way HR looks at a time-based approach compared to task-based approach now. So that's a change in culture. The way we look at security overall, that has changed also, because earlier security was more confined to being within a secure zone, but now working from home has changed the dynamics again. So various areas we are revisiting. One other thing I would say before all my colleagues join is like, COVID might not be there, but this change will remain. The adoption to technology that is certainly has picked up will remain. Hopefully, the COVID will probably fade out, or maybe we get used to it, or maybe there's a vaccine that comes in. But whatever investment that we do today in terms of technology, that's going to remain. So let's not take more time, and let's wait for my colleagues to join.
Sure. Also, if I could request, Hesham, if you could just put in your opening statement as well on, reimagine CX with AI to manage and thrive during the pandemic, because that's the panel discussion which we're going to be incorporating. So could you also have an opening statement to that, Hesham?
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning from Jeddah, from Saudi Arabia. I'm delighted to be part of this STEAM session on the CX and the AI. In the COVID-19, we have been seeing an extreme pressure on the digital transformation, and particularly those things that could assist with our organization in terms of remote working, in terms of capabilities that help us do the jobs we do today, but remotely. So it's an extreme that would take an opportunity to really do transformation. Something that probably in the last couple of years we never see digital transformation taking this extreme pace. And honestly, the teams we have been working with, either from our companies or vendors, have been really on the height of almost 24/7. Yeah, this is how people are working today. So I think it's an opportunity to really give the best what we could do in terms of the digital transformation and opportunities to help ease the COVID-19 situation, help maintain or increase productivity. This is what we could see happening in these days.
Sure. Thank you so much, Hesham, for that, for your opening note. I also do have Venkatesh with me online. Hi, Venkatesh.
Hi. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Venkatesh, we're able to hear you. So, Venkatesh, I was just asking your panelists right now, all the panelists who have joined us, on their opening statement of reimagine CS with AI to manage and thrive during the pandemic. Could we also have an opening statement from you as well, Venkatesh?
Sure, absolutely. See, now, particularly during this pandemic, ensuring that we harness the right utilization of artificial intelligence, machine learning is no more a choice. It is a given that we need to do, because people are at home and we need to somehow deliver the experience, the needs for people being at home to access whatever services that we are providing. So it's no more a choice. It is an essential thing that every organization needs to adopt and thrive.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Well, we're just waiting for our panelists to join us. As I do have VENKATESHA, we have Hesham, and we have Shafique online. Also, to all the audience out here, there is a question mark while you're viewing online, which is while you're viewing as an audience. So all you got to do is, in that question mark button, you got to press that question mark, and our panelists are going to be taking forward your questions live towards the end of the panel discussion. So we'd really request you to kindly put in your questions in the question mark bot out there, and just keep on chatting with us. I'll be with you online on that, and I will be passing that live meeting to our moderator, who's going to be then conducting it forward and passing those questions to you. So thank you so much for that. I believe we still have Shafique, Hesham, and VENKATESHA online. I believe all our other panelists are there online, but they are facing a little bit of technical glitch. I do have our next George is online. Our moderator is with us. Hello, George.
Hi, apologies for the technical glitches. Everything is.
No worries, George.
We had to actually no problem. Just I had to change browser, so there's obviously these technologies.
No, we're in able hands now, George. So I've just sort of asked the panelists on their opening statements on the topic, and I've now request you to kindly take it forward, George.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for the patience. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for Trescon to having us here. Thanks for the esteemed panelists that come from various backgrounds, including banking, transportation, and others in the region. And obviously, as we know, as we move forward with these challenges of dealing with customers' service in innovative ways, obviously, artificial intelligence and access to this data is an extremely important element. This allows us to much better customize the experience as we deal with these. So we had already one of our colleagues, I think Shafique, was addressing everybody because I saw him online. But we have also VENKATESHA, we have Hesham, we have Codin, we cannot see. So I think there might be one that still has having also some troubles. But we proceed. So let's maybe ask Hesham to spend a few minutes describing some of the experiences that he has from the exposure, especially in the transportation area, and then to get an idea. So please go ahead, Hesham.
Yes, thank you very much, George. And again, good morning, everyone. And thank you for being here today in this exciting session. In the COVID-19 and the CX, we have seen a lot of emerging technologies that we're trying to really get the best to support, including some of the examples of how can we deal with the customers not able to be either in a lockdown or a curfew situation, providing them the best of services. So what we could see emergence of like payment solutions, digital signatures. These are, I think, critical, I would say, emerging technologies that have been surfacing. Another one is also important that we are seeking as well to acquire is more like a chatbot dealing with a huge traffic coming on websites, on mobile apps. So we could see customers really inquiring, and we do not have that much of sometimes enough support staff to answer these inquiries. So chatbot is one of these emerging technologies we feel will be easing this COVID-19 scenarios that we've been thinking about. Another important is employee and employee safety. How can we provide the best to our employees during these difficult times? We have been working on what we call experience management and text analytics through the use of AI to identify mass surveys to our employees that we did in the range of 200,000, then analyzing the most critical things facing our customers. So these are probably one of the important things during what we see in this crisis of COVID-19.
Okay, so I would like to also maybe get Venkatesh to describe some of his experiences. So it's important to get also the banking sector, as we know, across the Middle East, both in Bahrain, Saudi, UAE, and across the GCC. Banking is the key important element. So Venkatesh, please go ahead.
Sure. At Mashreq, I mean, this is probably arguably the most innovative bank in the region. There are many firsts for Mashreq Bank. We have adopted machine learning, artificial intelligence, RPA very extensively in different areas, both from the front-end channels for the end customers, to the back-end operations, doing KYC, compliance operations, payment operations. We have introduced a lot of bots there, and in the back-end IT operations as well. In the IT side, which I directly take care of, we have introduced about 150 different bots covering different areas. We have done things related to accesses, provisioning, deprovisioning of accesses. We have done health checks on Unix, Windows systems, network devices. We have done a lot of network schedulers where we do backup, taking config management, a lot of compliance related things, which if you have to do manually, it would take a lot of effort and we would miss it because that would not be required for firefighting. But when need comes, these are things that would probably get ignored or deprioritized. So we have introduced bots in that area, many repetitive tasks in employee onboarding. So this has made our life a lot easier. We have partnered with Automation Edge for many of these bots. All of these bots in the IT area, we have partnered with Automation Edge. And that is resolving more than 5,500 tickets on a month-on-month basis. So we have been able to extensively use RPA, AI, ML technologies in different areas as well, right from customer side, chatbots, to many of the backend operations too, in addition to what I explained. George, back to you.
Sound is on or not? Okay, back. One of the things that is extremely important to analyze the customer experience has to do really with the quality of data. And as we know, it's not just the quality of data, but it's also the access to this data to enable a much better customer experience. As we know, sometimes in the Middle East, getting access to this customer data is extremely big challenge because of many reasons, privacy obviously being a critical one of them. For example, in the banking sector, the regulations are quite restrictive. I'm familiar, obviously, with Saudi, Bahrain, and the UAE. So maybe we can get a perspective from the Shafique and from VENKATESHA first, and then on this key point. Shafique, go ahead.
Well, thank you, George. I think I'm the only one who's visible on the camera. I think one of the effects of technology, I would say. So, I mean, in terms of data accessibility is, I would say, to a certain extent, it's there. It's all about how you're able to retrieve the data, and that's very important. And how do you see the data is? I mean, there are cases like, wherein we have all the data, okay, and we have the permission from the customer to use his data also, but then are we equipped enough to kind of use the data? And this is a very important question. I mean, of course, we are talking about AI and BI tools, and we are talking about RPAs to manage that, right? But now the data visibility is very, very important. Many times we have data in silos, right? And we don't see customer as a one profile. I mean, this is again very important. And when I say one profile, I mean to say the data that we have in our core banking system plus the social data that's available to use. I mean, of course, there are regulations in place that we need to be respectful about. But at the same time, do we have the right tools in place, right? There's a very important term that's used when it comes to data, is garbage in and garbage out. And I have a different perspective to that. Is like there's nothing called garbage in and garbage out, thing, right? Because we're talking about information. So if you have a garbage in and a garbage out, that's information that is given to you saying that you're not capturing the right data, or maybe you don't have the right classification of the data, and we need to look into that. And you need to correct that where you're talking about garbage in. So that's again information, because data is all about information. So this is where it is. But on the other hand, how effectively are we using it? I mean, do we have the right tools? And this is a very, very important question. And even if you have the right tool, do we have the right people behind those tools to start using the data that we want to use? And this is very important. I'm talking about the skills of the people. So we don't only rely on technology, but we also have to see how skilled our people are, because there's a transformation that's happening, and a transformation happening in every sector. The transformation in technology, within the department, and every other areas. So that is one important thing that we need to look at from data point of view. From a data security is another big subject that has changed the way we look into it, which I just mentioned earlier. So our data was secure within a premises, behind perimeter firewalls and all those DLP in place. But suddenly, work from home has opened doors. And that also has made us think about security in a different way altogether now. Right. It's not confined to us, but then of course, now we're looking at data from a governance point of view. We're looking at data from a security, right? So in terms of how are we going to manage that? Okay, I mean, of course, you have the RPA in place to run the process, and that's one of the things that happened. One of the reasons why there was a boom or adoption of RPA was realization that now the people cannot be in the office. That's one. So that you need somebody to work from the office. That's one thing. Second thing is security. You want to keep the data. You want to keep your applications within the office. Right, and how do you do that when you don't have humans coming in? And that's when the RPA comes in place. Okay, fine. If the human can't do it, let's have bots do that one. But of course, one is the assisted bot, and there's the one non-assisted. So that's something that we have to look at. But overall, these are the areas that we need to look at when we talk about data and we talk about automations.
Okay. We have one of the guests, like myself, that had a bit of a trouble getting in. The platform does have some challenges, but it's normal in this new experimentation area. So let me welcome Imtiaz, which will going to give us a bit of a slightly different perspective than the one that we have seen so far. So Imtiaz, we are all with you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, George. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, everything is good. Please go ahead.
So thank you for everyone for bearing with me. Sorry for the slight delay in getting through. So I'm going to focus on the next generation of customer experience, but a couple of things I'm going to say quickly is that it's important to note what's machine learning, artificial intelligence. I mean, that's my background now. I've done a postgraduate research in deep learning and machine learning. It's a new tool, relatively new tool that has a lot of power, but it has a lot of power when you have data, clean data. And what we've seen, unfortunately, with the likes of Gartner, leading consulting company, has actually shown that 85%, that's 85% of machine learning projects are failing to deliver value or against expectations in early 2019. And why has that been the case? It's been the case because either the data was insufficient, the quality of the data science team, the recruitment and the training. And the number one reason was the objective. The objectives between the machine learning team, the data science team, were not aligned with the business teams, and they worked on the wrong problem. It may work technically, but it didn't solve the customer problem. So it's important to look at your data, understand what you have, and then, the algorithm is actually not the majority of the work. The majority of the work is in the data pre-processing, integration, and also really understanding what you're trying to do, what problem you're trying to address. Are you looking at something, you're looking at recommendation algorithm, are you trying to upsell, cross-sell, etc. When it does work, it works with a lot of power. A good example, a real-life case study, is Harley-Davidson, an old world company. Harley-Davidson New York increased their sales leads by almost 3,000%. That's an old world legacy company. They managed to find new, customer leads that they were missing when they looked at the data. That's the power of machine learning when you do it correctly. The other thing I will really that I really want to focus on is the fact that we're going to an era as 5G comes in, and indeed as GPU, that's graphical processing units, AI chips, are spreading onto mobiles and sensors, etc., around us over the next few years, where we're going to have more and more of the machine learning, the AI, on the devices around us, which is going to lead to real-time engagement, real-time interactions with the customer, on-the-fly engagement, the kind of things where you go to a world where not only will 5G be a lot faster, but it's going to have very low latency. And you're going to have a lot more capacity. 4G networks are often maxed out around the world. And with COVID-19, we've seen at times that the internet gets slow as everyone's working from home, and we've had Netflix, etc., have had to slow down their servers. 5G can take 1,000 more devices per unit of capacity, which is going to allow for a big growth in the Internet of Things, connected devices. Statista have a forecast that by 2025, there'll be 75 billion connected devices. That's 9 per person on the planet. Think about that. It's a massive number. The volume of data that's going to get created, we're going to need machine learning to make sense of that data. And that's going to lead to the opportunities to interact with someone as they're walking around a shopping mall, sending offers to them, targeted personalization. We've gone to a world in mobile, and perhaps, who knows, in 2 years with glasses, as Apple and others launch augmented reality glasses in 2022, maybe 21, who knows, but probably 22, because that's when we'll have more scaling of 5G out there, where a lot of the intelligence will be on the device, inferencing will be on the device. You may still train the AI model in the cloud, but it'll be sat on the device. You have things like federated learning, a new machine learning technique, which allows for data privacy if implemented correctly, so it doesn't remove the data of the customer. That's going to transform things where you have data security issues like finance, hospitals and healthcare, etc., for this personalization without risking data security or privacy breaches. Now, what that means is that you can actually really personalize the experience for the customer, and that's very important as we go to as digital, as a consequence of COVID as well, really accelerates, because people expect that. They've got used to that with Amazon, etc., with Netflix and Google. They're used to things being tailored to them. And if you don't give that personalized experience, you're going to lose out to your competitors. So it's really making your data and the customer's data work for you in favor, and not spamming them, not just using, sending things to them are not relevant, because then you'll switch off the customer. So we've got to a world where things like visual search with deep neural networks, convolutional neural networks can be combined with the latest in NLP, natural language processing, things like transformers, attention mechanisms, which is again a relatively new form of AI or machine learning invented by Google, and over the last year is having huge advances in areas like machine translation, neural translation to very high accuracy, leading to new levels of engagement in areas such as retail and healthcare, both in terms of speech to text, or text to speech rather, language translation and sentiment analysis. So they're very powerful tools that are being developed out there. But of course, if you're relatively new to machine learning, if your organization is relatively new, it's important to start with the basics rather than jump into the most complex areas of machine learning, and really, do a project that's relatively easy to work, succeed, that you've got the data for, gain the learning knowledge in some of the simpler techniques. It could be something like a random forest, classical machine learning areas, and then move on to the deep neural networks as your second one. So that really, I think I'm a bit...
Okay. Got it. It's very, you touched on a very set of, I think, important points that are very applicable to Dubai. And more specifically, you touched on the 5G, you touched on the extreme amount of sensors being deployed. You touched about the importance of what I call edge computing, so moving the AI as closely to the user as possible to increase the experience. And I think we have with us, obviously, our colleague Hesham from RTA that has many of these things on the plate. We did quite a few projects with the RTA where we built things like prediction of traffic. So by using select data, there is the smart parking with the sensors that are being IoT driven. So there's sensors are being put on the parking. If you go on Sheikh Zayed Road on the right-hand side, you see these little devices that are on the ground. They have a battery that lasts 5 to 7 years. They have both a metal detector as well as a visual detector, and they connect directly to the 5G cellular tower. So that means you'll have to be able to reserve your parking. You'll be ahead of time, and you'll be able to know what is the next available parking spot. So maybe I'll let Hesham not steal some of his thunder to give us maybe some 1 or 2 key pointers on this much enhanced customer experience in the context of what I call a smart city, to make a bit of paraphrasing in the UAE terms, happiness to the customer. Hesham, to give us some perspective of the projects, very innovative, that the RTA is actually undertaking today.
If you want, I mean, I can just mention one of what if Hisham's having problems reconnecting, I can just talk.
Yeah, I think there is his image is frozen, so please go ahead, continue.
Imtiaz. Yeah, sure, thanks. So the kind of things that you're going to see, and thank you for that, George, which is that we're going to go into an era where change is going to happen faster than ever in human history. We already talk about 90% of data being created in the last 2 years of human history, right? 90% of the data. That's going to go to a new level as these sensors come on and 5G spreads over the next 2 to 3 years. We're going to go through exponential increase in data, and we're going to go through faster change than ever in human history. The kind of products that we were dreaming of, over the last 5 years are going to become possible. Technologies such as augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality, holographic that don't work with 4G, where those, you're going through the child disappointment, as Gartner call it, after the hype of 2016, 2017. They're going to start working in 2022 as 5G scales and the glasses come out. You're going to go to whole new opportunities that you can't even imagine right now, so with machine-to-machine communication, as these sensors take data and automate interaction with customers or processes within your company. So it's really about making sure you're getting engaged, that you're planning forwards. Don't wait 2 years from now as an organization. Don't wait for this to come out, because, when I did my MBA, a professor from Stanford gave the London Business School, but he gave a really good example. And he said, look, the slide rulers, right, before the calculator came, all the calculations were done on slide rulers. They've been out there for 300 years, 400 years. And on the edge of the glasses, they didn't see the calculator here. They didn't view it as a competitor. But in 2 years, they were all bankrupt, gone. And so that's the key thing.
Understood. Hesham, are you still with us? I would like to get your quick perspective on the RTA innovative projects, AI specifically to these sensors and this customer experience, and then we'll finalize talking about virtual banks, and we'll go back to VENKATESHA and Shafique, so we get perspective of their innovation as well. So please, Hesham, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, George. Voice clear? Or?
Yeah, it's perfect. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so on specific the sensors and how we help looking into the AI field are important things. From a supply chain perspective, we have been analyzing the huge traffic we have in terms of, example, trying to manage our stocks and business. So one of the opportunities is how to provide an autonomous vehicle that helps you auto park the vehicles without any kind of human intervention. We analyze a couple of pilots in this scenario, and they look very promising. Aside from this, from a sensors and camera perspective, in showrooms specifically, we have been using cameras and Internet of Things to analyze the crowds and the customers and where we find peak hours and where usually customers go in certain areas in the showroom. So this is also a potential area looking into these kind of sensors and technologies. Practical use is really for us is to probably even in the COVID-19 situation, to really minimize the kind of capacity limit you have in the showroom. So this is something we're inspecting and looking into. Either you do this today manually, having someone at the gateway, allowing customers to get in and out, or you try to help the kind of use of AI to screen, tell you the capacity. I saw one good example actually in one of the big stores that count customers in, customers out. And the door actually automatically opens. When it reaches the capacity, it will just close until other customers are out. So this is where we see some innovation of these sensors. Examples. Thank you.
I think one of the key things, innovation especially, that is very important in this COVID-19 is the birth of the touchless economy. And in the touchless economy, we have things like touchless payments, and we have the concept created a few years ago of what we call the neobank or the virtual bank. Although Dubai experimented this in the early days with Dubai Internet City, and there was one that was open with the first 3 buildings that actually went up. But initial days, it didn't catch up. But in the last 3 years, banks like Revolut have changed the customer experience. What do I mean by that? You can really open an account in 14 clicks. So that really means you're trying to customize very much the customer experience to be very friendly. So 14 clicks until you can actually do the first transfer to maybe a colleague somewhere far away. So I would like to see the perspective of how AI is going to help drive these virtual banks, which are going to complement the traditional banks that we have seen and have provided much more customization to the customers and much more agility in the types of services that they're offering. So I'd like to hear from Venkatesh on this as well.
Sure. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Okay. Now, most of the transactions should be completely straight through processing. Now, that's very key. But keeping data security in mind, that's the fundamental thing, right? If any bank is not able to have a reliable data security, they are out of the game. No, that's the fundamental thing. But as you said, everything is now changing to touchless. Person sitting at home should be able to do almost every transaction. So in fact, if you look at how Mashreq is doing, we have stopped many of our brick and mortar branches. That all they are changing into small booths. Most of the work can happen wherever there were branches through our interactive teller machines. They can speak to even agents wherever things cannot be done directly from the system. So some of the key things to ensure that we are right in the game is to ensure that their time to market, the speed and agility both plays a very big part. And to enable that, moving to cloud is another essential thing so that our time to market is very quick. And there comes again the data residency is one of the important factors. Now with more and more players coming into the region to set up data centers, the cloud data centers, that would be possible as well. I think all this would tie in together to ensure the customer gets the experience without having to move an inch. George, I think you are on mute.
I think one of our also keynote speakers that was with us from the beginning had a bit of challenge as well. It's also another perspective from the banking sector. So I want to really give the floor to Codin so that he also presents the perspective from Oman as well. So please go, Codin, go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone. If you can hear me, then thank you everybody for joining this session. My name is Codin Caragea. I'm running the CX function for the largest bank here in Oman. I'll share with you in just a few minutes what actually happened, not only since we were hit by this crisis, but also from last year. We were lucky in a way because we started a very robust VOC program late 2018, and we managed to reach to a pretty solid and comprehensive 360 view of the customers from different sources. Now the key challenge for us was not necessarily to understand what is happening these days, because we had a pretty good grasp in terms of noticing what are the behavioral shifts. The biggest challenge was actually to focus and prioritize some of the initiatives, because now the transition happened from applying for different products in digital channels to actually availing tiny little services in digital channels. And we notice also a shift in how actually different categories of customers are learning to execute different things in the digital channels. So for instance, our colleagues in the social media, because we are using for more than 1 year WhatsApp as a service, they were telling us, look, there are categories of old customers who are not able to text on WhatsApp, but they are using voice messages on WhatsApp, and they are expecting answers in the same way. So it was a challenge to fast adapt to these type of new requirements. I would say for me, the future, we don't have a crystal globe, definitely, but for me, the future will not be purely digital. It will be more of a hybrid between intelligent technology and humans with empathy, humans with knowledge, and humans ready to help anywhere, anytime, different categories of people. And secondly, as a CX practitioner, I noticed here in the banking sector, yes, we still need to speak finance language. ROI is important, but more important these days is to support business and frontliners to rebuild trust and to rebuild relevance for our customers, no matter where they are. This is pretty much everything from my side. I think we are running out of time now.
Yeah, no, actually,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to give a chance to every one of our speakers. We do have a question from Jalil. One of the big issues, I think, and we touched base on it, but maybe everybody can speak 1 minute before we wrap up. And it's about there is a way to estimate the quality of the data and the amount of data that is required based on the scenario that is being considered. So we already addressed partly of this question, but I would like to maybe get the perspective from both the banking sector as well as from the transportation sector as well. So maybe let's start first here with Imtiaz that is still online. Imtiaz, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So thank you for that. Essentially, it depends what the problem is you're trying to solve. If you're trying to do a convolutional neural network like computer vision, you'll need a lot of data, and then you've got to check the images for the quality and consistency, etc. If you're trying to do something like customer analytics, you might be using a gradient boosting algorithm or a random forest, and you may find that you can get away with smaller data. If you have very small amount of data, it may have to be limited to a linear regression. So it really comes down to the problem that you're trying to address. Again, if you're going into speech and text analytics, like transformers, you'll need very, very large data in the deep neural networks. So really look at the problem you're trying to solve, look and the data you have and evaluate accordingly in the type of technique that you're going to use.
Okay. So it's important as we address here is like it's about the density of the data, the quantity, and the quality of the data. So Codin, any last important points for our audience today as we wrap up? Codin, we're back with you. Codin is from a mobile device, so his camera is gone. Okay, I think anyway, we are a little bit out of time. I do thank very much, a big thanks to our panel of esteemed guests that spend valuable time from their work today to share their experience. And the good thing is that we had really a comprehensive set of discussion that covered more on the banking and financial sector because of the importance, but also on the transportation sector as well. And we got also the innovative ideas and experience with a sophisticated scientific background from Imtiaz. So thank you very much. And I give the floor back to Bhavana so that the show will go on today, and we're looking forward to meeting you online as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And thank you,
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you to all our panelists once again.